Morning everyone, welcome to Hunter Gatherer Cooking. We're at the Stalking Show 2024. We're live. It's been a phenomenal show so far with day 2. It's fairly early in the morning. We've had some amazing guests on. Hopefully you've enjoyed those videos. But today I'm with Peter Jones from Shooting and Hunting Academy, Capreolus Club.
A man of many caps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Nice
been an absolute pleasure. I mean, we've chatted several times sort of over the last few shows, few days. It's great to have you on. I've got loads to ask you about, you know, all the different things that you're doing. But how are you finding the show to start with?
Well, it's been great, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We were here last year for the first time, and actually, I sort of came along thinking, well, I wonder how good it's going to be, and we thought it was absolutely excellent. It's so targeted, Alex. That's the thing I like about it. I mean, I don't know if you've been along to the Shooting Show and other shows, which are great in their own right, but they're getting such a broad spectrum of stands, aren't they? But the great thing about here
all
is
these
it's deer
people,
stalking.
you could talk to every single person, couldn't you? You know. Should we start with the courses?
Sure, why not?
So, I mean, my experience was I had heard about your courses, you know, on the grapevine. Now, as you know, I'm new to most of this. You've got many more years' experience on me, and I heard about PDS1, and I'd heard that it was completely different to what was available and out there.
Well, Alex, I mean, first of all, let's be clear about what we're talking about. We're talking about the Proficient Deer Stalker Level 1. It's the PDS1, effectively. And the great thing about the PDS1 is it's a Lantra accredited course. Now, most landowners, most people who deal with countryside skills will be aware of Lantra. Lantra are off-pole regulated. So it's really got some credibility there. And how that evolved, effectively, was that we used to deliver the PDS1 in the field. But when COVID came along, we realised that actually, you know, a lot of courses and a lot of education was starting to be delivered online. So
that's how it came about then?
Well, exactly, and we put a lot of thought into it as to how we were going to start delivering that, and how we could, rather than being able to deliver it just one-on-one in the field, we wanted to deliver it to a wider audience. And so what we thought we would do is utilise an e-learning platform, which is the Shooting and Hunting Academy.
Yeah.
Okay, and pop it on in that format. And then we went to great lengths getting the Lantra accreditation, which is, I mean, I don't know if you've got any experience of Lantra awards and how they work.
I understand it. I understand what they do and you know the regulations, but I imagine it was pretty difficult.
Well, it's pretty rigorous, and so we were really pleased. And it took us a long time, and eventually we got that stamp, that third-party accreditation for the Proficient Deer Stalker Level 1 as an accredited course. And then through that academy, we were then able to offer that nationally. Yeah. So it's been
you can reach anyone now.
Well, that's right.
I mean, what I like about it particularly is that it's very modern. You know, when we look at the other courses and things, and you get the Bible sent through as a beginner. That is the most daunting thing to be told, learn that. You know, and you look at so many different e-learning things now. First of all, it exists, and you sit down and you can actually, in your own leisure, work through it.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is one of the great joys of it. You don't have to go somewhere and sit in a classroom for a couple of days. You can dip in and out of it. You can do it at your own leisure. You can do it through the space of a long weekend. You can do it in the evenings after work. You can do it at your leisure and work your way through all these modules and classes. And all the content, rather than, as you say, than getting a book, it's all delivered to you in person by me and a few other people as well.
Hi,
I'd be sick of
you may recognise me from.
But it's proven very, very popular.
Yeah.
But Alex, I think what's really important and what I want to be clear about is this is not offering any disrespect to the DSC1. Now, a lot of people have done DSC1, DMQ, Deer Management Qualifications are the guys responsible for that. And that has been a course that's been running for decades, and it's a very good course. It's a very good course. I'm an approved witness for deer management qualifications.
Right.
I've gone the DSC1 route, the DSC2 route, all that type of thing. I've taken out loads of candidates doing their DSC2s. I know what it's about, and I can say confidently, it's a great course. But I think what the industry has never had is it's never had any competition. DSC1's never had any competition. And consumers have therefore never had any choice.
Yeah.
And I think what's almost always in the interest of the consumer is a bit of choice.
Yeah.
And that's all we're offering. We're saying, look, if you're going to do a deer course, if you're going to do a deer stalking qualification, DSC1's great, and if you want to go that route, that's fine. But also, there's the Proficient Deer Stalker, there's the Lantra route. And a lot of people want to do that, and it's proven very popular.
In different industries, there's always choice. I work in financial services for the day job. I know that there's two bodies that people can go down and they choose. And it's Oxford and Cambridge, and people say one's better, but it's. I always say it's what's better for you.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was looking into all of this, I was looking at DSC1, I was looking at PDS1, and I knew that to get my license, it was going to be difficult because I don't have land and things like that. I knew I had reasons, but when I applied again, I was told that because of all the backlogs of the police and things, that I could be waiting 12 to 24 months potentially.
Yeah.
And I said to the people who were guiding me through the process, I said, well, what I'll do is I'll apply now. And I've got maybe a year to 2 years to basically be as ready as I can for the interview. Yeah. And my plan was do firearm safety training, do either the PDS1 or the and basically be as best equipped as I can.
And how's it going for you, Alex? I mean, to turn this on the interview. Where are you at now? And
as I said to you just a moment ago, I'm now at the point where I've got my ticket, and I need to make some decisions about what to go for. I need to make some purchases. And then my next goal, so really what I want to do, get my own rifle, and then I want to be left alone. I want to go to a range and just find my happy place, basically. And part of my reason, I've said this many times, part of my reason in my interview was I'm using different rifles, different scopes, with different people in different environments. Like, I've shot 3 deer, I've fired 3 rounds, and touch wood, it's gone well, but what I wanted was some confidence.
It's a sharp learning curve to start off with, isn't it? When you initially come to a new industry, there's a lot to learn.
It's really daunting. I remember coming to this show for the first year, and if you're not in this world, I didn't recognise a single brand here. There was, and you all talk in different languages. People use this word caliber, which they love talking about, reloaders and things like that. But the first year was, I almost just couldn't talk, and I just listen. But I listen, and I like listening, and I'll ask questions to people that I trust, and I'll say, what was he talking about when he was talking about that?
Well, I think if I may, I don't sound passionate, but you've done well to adopt that attitude, because I think the wrong thing to do is to come in to any industry and think you know it all. To come in with a sort of attitude that you've got nothing to learn, and that can be, I think, very obstructive to actually really taking on board what you're being taught by a lot of professionals, a lot of experts in the industry, and then finding your route thereafter.
Yeah.
So
I'm the exact opposite. I'm very happy saying I don't know what I'm doing, or this is my first time doing this, so if I'm doing it wrong or I can do it better, someone say, because you don't know what you don't know.
And I think, the other thing you said there, which is important, is I think for a lot of people who are considering getting into deer stalking, initially it seems like quite an opaque industry. They're thinking to themselves, well, I come to a show like this and I look at all this equipment and I look at everything that is available and all these brands, but how do I actually make that initial step to get into deer stalking?
And it's really, really hard.
It is, and I think a lot of us are already in that industry.
It seems hard.
It does.
But once you know, and I think we're moving into the Capreolus Club now, and that's what I like about that. So I'm a country boy originally, but not country in the sense of, my family's not farming or anything like that. But we lived in the country, but I worked in the city. So I'm a city-ish boy in Bristol. Yeah. But did I know anyone that could get me into this world? No, not at all. Yeah. I stumbled upon it because Matt from Grove Game, he said one day, we'd never met, he said, do you want to come on a deer stalk? And I was like, amazing, definitely. Yeah.
And I think, really that's been, I suppose, our journey is understanding that, for a lot of people, it is a opaque industry. They're unclear about where they go. And really what we do is let's use that phrase, shine a light on it. We shine a light on that, and probably our bread and butter, the type of inquiries we get day in, day out, is someone that comes to us and says, look, I'm interested in deer stalking. I'm interested in sourcing and harvesting my own meat, which is another really popular thing. And they say to us, how do I go about it? And we are able to provide that step 1, step 2, step 3 process of getting into deer stalking.
So you can, and do, by the sounds of it, you will take complete beginners who need that route of entry into it, and you can not only give them the physical experience, but you can give them the education and the qualifications as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? No, and the way it works is this. So I mean, let's lay out that step 1, step 2, step 3. So the first inquiry might be someone saying, look, I'm really interested in deer stalking, and we would say, well, look, go out on a guided stalk, meet one of our guys, and actually get a feel for what the thing is all about.
Right.
Okay, that way they know whether they're going to enjoy it or not. Next step, if you've enjoyed that, start solidifying on some of that knowledge. Start getting a little bit of understanding about it. And for that, we recommend the PDS1. So they get going on the PDS1 course.
So you get them in on that quite quickly, the education just straight in there.
I think it's important, Alex, and I'll tell you why. I think it's important for them, and I think it's important for the deer. Because it's not fair to be putting people out who are complete beginners, not knowing what they're doing, not knowing where to place their shot or how to behave. So we much prefer if people come in onto that PDS1 almost straight away, because that's a really good.
I suppose it shows commitment as well, doesn't it, at that point?
It does. And then, when we are handing the weapon over to someone, when we're handing the rifle over to someone, they then know how to handle it safely. And when I point out a deer, they know where to place that shot. Obviously under our guidance, but they've got a feeling of what it's all about, and that's fair to them, and it's fair to the deer. So so let's take that typical candidate then. So they've been out on a short stalk, they've done their PDS1 certificate, and what they're going to do then is they're going to come out and do a shooting assessment and safety assessment to complete the PDS1.
I'm just going to ask you, so you do it, so there is a safety assessment then?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
So once you've done the theory bit online, you've got to put what you've learned into practice. So what they will do is they will come out with one of our approved verifiers, which we have all around the UK.
How many do you have?
Our approved verifiers, I don't know. We always like to say we've got one within an hour's drive of anyone in the country.
Right, okay.
So you can usually find someone within a short drive. And that's really important. So they can go out then and basically demonstrate that they can put into practice what they've learned on the course. So they will do a shooting assessment, do a safety assessment, and then come away from that really understanding what they're doing. And also what's good about that, and I know I'm harping on here a little bit.
You're not harping on at all. I find it fascinating.
But what they can do is really nice, is at the end of that assessment, they can tag that straight on to a live stalk outing. So they can then set out and really put what they've learned into practice with a qualified individual who's able to then take them out on the stalk.
But that's what any theory, any classroom exercise needs. You need to learn it, understand the theory, and then go out and do it.
Exactly.
They're two completely different things.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I first started, my first experience of a rifle was Braces helped me out with a firearm safety course.
Yeah.
I'd never held a rifle. I'd never fired a rifle. I knew which end it came out, so I passed that one. But again, I wasn't shaking or anything. But you're nervous because in the classroom you've been told how far that bullet can go, and you could cause some serious injury or worse.
You can, and it's important that people do have training.
So when I had my interview with the firearms, it was just the whole thing was safety for me, for the public, for the deer, making sure that it goes down quickly.
I mean, there's two golden rules, isn't there? Really, safety is one, of course, and the other is that we show respect to the deer, and when we're sure that we're going to dispatch them humanely.
And I remember my first. I would have been okay if I missed, because I would have done it again another day. But what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to injure it, and it leads to all kinds of complications.
Alex, I think what you said there is probably everyone's main concern when they first set out for deer. They don't want to injure an animal.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the way you should be feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, we're here to dispatch something humanely, aren't we?
The best advice I had was from Pete when we went out, and he said, if you're not comfortable doing this, we walk away and there's no shame, it's absolutely fine. If you don't want to do it, we don't do it. But if you're taking it, you do it comfortably.
Do you know, I don't know how many hundreds of beginners I've taken out deer stalking, and I will say exactly the same thing to them. I say, look, when we get onto the deer, if you don't feel like pulling the trigger, fine, there's absolutely no problem. But do you know how many people have not pulled the trigger?
Zero.
Yeah. Interesting. They all go.
I'd stalked for 4 or 5 hours to get to where we were. So part of me was like, we are going to do
having
this.
come this far.
But again, we talked. There was so much almost theory that we talked it through. Even my practice shot was almost identical to the shot we ended up taking.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Norman from Irish Safaris, and he was talking about Seeker, which I haven't shot. But he was saying, you got 4 seconds to get that shot. I had 12 and a half minutes. We crawled out onto the edge of the cliff, but my heart rate dropped. I was calm. I was collected. We were looking at. That was the other fear, was making sure I shoot the right one.
Yeah.
Because Peter told me all these horror stories about someone shooting the looking at one and then that one drops.
Often happens, I'm afraid.
I've heard,
people wind in their magnification too much.
Yes.
And that, I think, is just a tiny point, but you often find that beginners they want to really get close to that deer, so they wind that magnification right up, and then all they can focus on is a very small area. And if there is a group of deer or a herd, they're only concentrating on 1 or 2 animals. I want to see the whole picture.
I would think I was more nervous about making sure. I was like, right, so it's that one. It's got a white whatever on the. I remember. I remember it well.
Yeah. Good.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it. But so, in terms of the Capreolus Club, then, you've introduced them, you've educated them. They've now got their qualification, and then they could potentially be a member.
Yes, and it's not.
Or are they a member before all of this?
No. So let me carry on with that journey then. So basically, you've done your PDS1, you've done your shooting and safety assessment, and then you probably take that onto a live score counting where you set out to try for a deer. Okay. Now, a lot of people at that stage will think, that's great, and they're empowered then to be able to go out with other professional stalkers. They can apply for their own firearms license and go down that route. Sometimes we don't see them again. Right. But for some people, they then want to take another step forward then in becoming a Capreolus Club member. Okay? And the reason for that is because they look at it and they think, well, actually, through the club, I can access quite a lot of deer stalking opportunities.
But a lot of people won't have those connections, they don't have the land permissions, and I suppose that's what the club enables them to get hold of.
Exactly that. So we can then help them with guided stalking. When they get their own rifle, we can help them with a syndicate. So we lease thousands of acres around the south where guys, once they've got their farm certificate, once they know what they're doing, they can go out onto the grounds and do that. We throw events like the Highlands of Scotland. We hire the lodges up in the Highlands. We have nice trips on Seeker deer. We do fallow trips. We do all sorts of events around the UK. So you can see that by joining the club, what you're doing effectively is you're being able to access some of the best stalking that the UK has to offer. And that's great. And that really works with some people. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Alex, as well, because it works very well, I think, for people who haven't necessarily grown up on a farm or in the countryside. You've got a guy perhaps who works in town and, he lives in town and he's thinking, well, how the hell am I going to access some stalking? They're not going to, are they? So, and I think it's a really important thing that, as in this industry, that we don't just reach out to fellow country folk, but we also engage the people that live in the towns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anything, in some ways, I think maybe we need to reach those more, because they're the ones potentially, without stereotyping, they're the ones that maybe their children don't know what farm animals look like, and they don't know about country living and game and things like that.
You are absolutely right on that. I think it's a very important role.
Definitely. I mean, I said to someone the other day, I'm not going to name his name, but one of the boys from work is only 24, and he asked what a venison was.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't, and you don't know what you don't know. If you haven't got that exposure.
It's all about education, and you know, that is really what county deer stalking is about as well. We put regular films out on YouTube, we put articles out on the website, and what we're trying to do really is get that information out to as many people as we can. And here, I think, and this is, if I may blow a bit of hot air your way, this is really good, because it's about what social media does, is it allows us to reach those people which otherwise we wouldn't have done. Because you and I know that we don't always necessarily get a fair shake with the main British press. So social media is our friend, isn't it? It's a way of getting that response.
Sometimes it's our friend. We spoke before about language and words and things, and I don't think there's any harm in changing some of our language and words, but sometimes obviously it gets in the way, doesn't it?
Well, I think, you know,
especially with algorithms.
I think, you know, I think this is another good point, is that what we've got to do is actually think about what are we actually doing. And whereas before social media we might have talked about going out and culling an animal, well, now we just think, hang on a second, what am I actually doing here? What I'm going out and doing is I am harvesting a deer from its natural environment, a wild animal, and I'm taking it home to feed to my family and friends.
And if I do it safely and correctly, that deer will never know about it.
Yeah. And we're benefiting the environment by doing it.
Yeah.
So when we actually think about what we're actually doing, Alex, when we think about it, it is highly justifiable. All we've got to do is vocalise it and use the correct
I think we can get
terminology.
people talking more and normalising.
Yeah, and
renormalising.
As I say, you know, you're doing a great job. I think last time I saw you was at the Eat Game Awards, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. That was a great night,
Educator of the Year, you superstar, you.
I'm sort of, I don't know how. Yeah, no, obviously I like it, but I've always said, like, this is my journey of learning about it all, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. All the people, all the businesses. I'm just, I sit there and I listen and I make my own mind up about it, and I'll ask questions, and I don't mind challenging someone. I think it's good to challenge. So
it is, and I think that what you're doing there is you're making deer stalking and deer management accessible to a wider audience. You're educating them, and that's really what we're seeking.
And I get asked, who can I get in contact with?
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah.
I can say now. I actually understand what you're doing much better now, and I can see how that links in. To everything. So I think it's brilliant.
No, absolutely, we're delighted, brilliant. And we're here at the show. As I say, we're over at B19, I think is our stand, isn't it? Deer stalking qualifications.
Yeah. And you have got a small banner up.
There's I clearly got an ego issue there, haven't I? The bigger the banner, the smaller the ego.
At least people
or vice versa, I'm not sure. But,
awesome. Well, look, thank you very much. Obviously, all of Peter's details for the Capreolus Club, everything will be in the description of the video. You'll be able to follow that through. If you've got any immediate questions for me, pop them in the comments. I'll try and come back to you. Anything I don't know, I'll forward straight over to yourself. Hope you've enjoyed the video. It's been amazing meeting you. The show is incredible. So if you haven't managed to get here this year, then make sure you check it out for 2025. Give the video a like, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you soon for the next video.